Welcome to Go Gardening. We're here on the north side of San Antonio at a garden home with a good friend of mine, Brian Hough, and we're going to look at his wonderful little garden home and figure out things that you can do for a smaller garden and some really interesting things that are possible, particularly on the north side of San Antonio in thin soils. But before we get up and move around the house, Brian, explain to me what's going on right here, because a lot of people are in the same situation in San Antonio.
Right. Well, this is a garden home, so it's a pretty small lot, and primarily the house takes up most of the lot, and then the deck does in the back. So there's a perimeter fence around the property, and that is the edge of the property. All of this greenery and the trees, everything you see out here, is actually HOA property. So I have the advantage of being able to sit here and enjoy it, but I don't have to maintain it. The HOA cuts the grass, they keep it clean. So it's a pretty small footprint here, but so my idea here was to have it small but nice, right? And primarily low maintenance and a lot of native plants, etc., that just make it, that garden home lifestyle.
And tell me, not only native plants, native fauna as well.
There are deer like crazy. They come through here in the mornings and they walk that way, and then in the evenings they come back the other way, and all along they stop and eat the grass. You can watch them from inside the breakfast area, and they're eating the grass, and you see the fawns in the late spring, early summer, and it's kind of very interesting to watch them from afar. And they can't really come into the yard because it is fenced off, so it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I was thinking one other thing is, this is the green area, so a green belt. You don't have to water this, do you?
Never at all. I mean, and I use the expression that Mother Nature is the best landscaper in the world. Just like, why not just leave this all natural? And then I get my more cultivated, refined look with these pots that have seasonal flowers in them. In the front, you'll see there is more landscaping there, but it's all deer-proof, drought-resistant. Everything's on a small basis.
Well, let's go look at those areas.
Okay.
All right. Great. Let's go this way. So this is a beautiful entrance, and a wonderful usage of native and other plants. I really love, and I have always loved, the use of pots and plants. So tell me a little bit about this pot right here.
Well, I think it's really effective because it's an attractive color. It's a unique ton of shape, size. And with this Dianella variegated flax lily in here, it's like super, super low maintenance. The one issue with this plant is it does take a hit in the freeze, but my garage is right here. Yeah. So I have them in here also. And so I have a little dolly and I just put them in the garage.
It's the same thing with this plant?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I like this plant a whole lot. My idea here was to not make it too busy. So I just repeated the same plant in these 3 pots. I think it's pretty effective.
So it has a little confusion, but it has nice plants. So
right.
It's varied, but with cohesion.
Yeah, not too busy. Yeah.
Okay.
And then in here, this mountain laurel was here when I purchased the house, and it is a prolific bloomer. I discovered I think mountain laurels are either big bloomers or they're not, and this is a big bloomer. I mean, it's already covered with the blooms for next season.
I got to look at the camera.
Profuse.
Remember, people, don't prune these pieces off. That's next year's flowers.
Right, exactly.
Keep those little spikes.
Right. And so for my high impact right here, these are just 2 flats of vincas right here. In the winter, I put snapdragons because the deer leave them alone. But I think for 2 flats of flowers, you get a big bang here for the entryway. It's grown so much, it's covering up my stone snail sculpture here, but that's okay. And so then I filled them with some society garlic. There's a lantana.
And another deer-resistant plant.
Right, exactly. There's a white mist boneset mist flower back there. These nandinas were already here, and I'm really struggling whether to keep them or not. So I compromised and I took the ones out in the middle, because when you look from that bedroom out here, I have my little vignette with my St. Francis statue and little animal statues around there you can look at.
We used to teach the classes on that, and I always take your advice on that. And I always wonder why it's a window, people, don't cover it up.
Exactly. So
I always love your advice on
opening that up, yeah.
Well, a lot of people are starting to use this, but I don't think I've ever seen it such in a lush mode.
Thank you.
What is this?
This is Berkeley sedge, and I've read about this and heard about this for many, many years, but I never used it until I planted this last October, and it just took off like crazy. I mean, these plants had a lot of, about at least a foot space in between each of them, and less than a year later, I planted it last October. At the end of October, it's totally filled in. So what I tried to do here was, bearing in mind that the deer are a problem here, so they do leave this plant alone. And I wanted to give a little bit of definition to this area. I didn't want to look just totally wild, but I wanted to look casual at the same time. It's not like a straight line of like liriopes or mondo grass, anything like that. It's sort of, it's an irregular shaped edge to it, and it blows in the wind. And then I put these rocks here, again, just to keep the mulch from washing into the street, but also to give it a little bit of definition here, a little bit of formality and structure, but not too much, because this is a native, basically native plant.
Yeah,
casual,
something like a relaxed
yard.
uniformity.
Yes, yes.
So no, it looks beautiful. So what size did you plant?
These were 1 gallon plants.
1 gallon at 1 foot centers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's excellent. Okay, I mean, it really does. I've seen a lot of uses of that.
Thank you.
But this is one of the best edges I've seen.
Well, and with a lot of things with landscape design, this is primarily seen from a distance as you're approaching the house, coming down the street. So you see this big swath of green, edging this sort of informal type garden. It's very effective.
One last thing. Tell me about the rocks.
Well, those again were put there to stop mulch from washing down in the street, plus to just kind of define the edge of this a little bit. And so before we put these in, we scooped the soil out and made sort of a trench under it. So they're not just sitting on top of the dirt, which happens a lot of times to do that, and then the dirt comes up from it, or washes through it. We scooped it all out, and it's probably a good 6 inches worth of rocks in here on this edge. And it does a great job of keeping the mulch in the beds and keeping the water just kind of percolates and filters through here rather than wash the soil and the mulch away.
All right. Now, speaking of edges, I have a question to ask you, and we're going to go over here and look at some vines.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Okay, let's go look. Oh, but wait. Before we go look at the vines, let's talk about the Turk's cap here.
Yeah, this is a super, super native plant. I mean, wonderful native plant. It's so easy to grow. It freezes down in the winter. You cut it all the way down, and it just, with all the rain we've had, it's just gone crazy. The deer leave it alone. It gives you this little color, this kind of a Christmas look with the red and the green. And one thing that I recently discovered was these little seed pods that are on here. There are people that actually eat these. I was told this by some of the guys that work for me. They're from Central America, and they call these pancitas, which means tummy.
Oh,
and you just pop the whole thing in your mouth and eat it. It's like a fruit. Yeah, but I was.
Okay, we have legal witnessing here, so if you do kill me.
Yeah.
It's seedy.
Yeah.
That's kind of refreshing.
Yeah. It's like a little, not very sweet fruit, but it's not disagreeable. I don't know that. You'd have to probably collect a lot of these to make it worthwhile to eat, but
yeah, it's no, that's fine. No, I've had enough. Thank you. No more. All right, let's go look at some vines over this way. So Brian, I have a lot of people asking me about privacy, and this is a great example of you using a vine, a fence and a vine. Which vine is this?
This is the tangerine cross vine.
Okay.
It's evergreen, it's covered with beautiful orangey red flowers in the early spring.
Okay.
But my experience with vines, because I've tried lots of different ones, is that this has been the most hardy for the freezes and the droughts that we've had in the last couple of years.
Okay, so this is the really tough one.
This is a really tough one. The butterfly vine is a great one, but it really took a hit from the freeze. That Confederate jasmine, I've used that, but it took a big hit from the freeze as well. I've used coral honeysuckle, but it gets really woody. This is kind of becoming my go-to vine for privacy and screening.
So
evergreen.
Evergreen with flowers.
Yep.
And what kind of flowers, what kind of pollinators do they attract?
Well, it's like a tubular type shaped flower. And so you see hummingbirds,
Okay.
you know, come into it. And I'm sure, and the butterflies as well, right?
Yeah. Well, it's evergreen, it's sturdy, it's thick. It looks like a really perfect vine to use.
And it's
in
drought
San
tolerant,
Antonio.
doesn't require a whole lot of water once it's established.
And particularly on a smaller home, on a
Exactly.
smaller garden home or infill.
Right, you don't have a lot of space in here, so you do a vine, you know, to go vertical rather than horizontal. And it's a good solution to give you privacy.
Great.
Yep.
Well, should we look at some other stuff?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Brian, this is one of my favorite trees. It's a bur oak, and it's a bur because those lovely fringes on the acorn. So you told me that they weren't going to have. Well, you didn't have them last year.
They didn't have any last year. There's 3 of these bur oaks here, and none of them had acorns. So I thought maybe it was a sterile variety or
It's like
something.
a pecan, maybe every other year. Or
Which
something.
it wouldn't bother me because these acorns get to be like the size of a fist, right?
Yeah.
They get huge.
They get huge on that.
Yeah.
So, but it provides lovely shade.
Beautiful shade. This is the west side of the house, so these shade the whole house from that hot western sun.
So I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for allowing us to be on your property. But leave the audience with a few design principles.
Sure. The design principles are the same whether it's a small garden or a big garden. You want to have structure, and you want to have repetition of plants, and you need to take in consideration the scale of plants. You wouldn't put a huge tree like this in a small front yard like this, okay? But they're, you know, and you want to repeat plants. That's where you get that repetition. It doesn't look so busy. It's not hodgepodgey. And again, structure, but not formality. I think that fits into a Texas landscape much better than those old, you know, clipped hedges and straight lines and everything. Just structured informality.
All right.
Okay.
Those are great principles. Well, I want to thank you so much for allowing us to come here on your property. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So it's beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. So, and I'd like to thank everyone for watching Go Gardening. So, let's get out there and garden and save some water. Thank you.
Ever wonder where all of the water we use to drink, bathe, cook, garden, and put out fires comes from? Ever wonder how our water supply is safeguarded to ensure it's there for generations to come? The answers to all your questions will be waiting for you at the Edwards Aquifer Authority Education Outreach Center. Book your free visit today at eaaeoc.org. The EOC is the place to be.
Welcome to the Go Gardening Show. We're here today at Shades of Green, one of my favorite nurseries in all of San Antonio. And now we're going to be looking around. It's going to be mostly videography. It's going to be beautiful. I'm not going to talk, so everyone is going to be happy out there. Now Bob's not here today, but he will be in the future. We'll be talking to him. So let's go out and start looking at some of these beautiful plants. And remember, fall is for planting. So let's get out there and plant. Let's go look, shall we? This is one of my most favorite places here at Shades of Green. This is what I call the perennial garden bench, and particularly this. I want to point out that the staff at Shades of Green have done an outstanding job of making signage. So this is great. We're going to talk a little bit about the penstemons, rock penstemon, big penstemon. They have them here. These are great fall pollinators. So when the butterflies and bees are coming through, that it's a great example of using native plants, and most of these, or almost all of these, are native, that you'll be able to use these native plants for pollinators in the fall. And again, fall is for planting. So we had the penstemon. I have my cigar plant, which is a kufia, and you see this little one, it's another kufia. We have assortment of lantanas and verbenas. Again, all the wonderful little signage here. We have more salvias, and then one of my favorite, particularly in use as a replacement of turf. We get rid of the turf and we use Blackfoot daisies, and I'm going to show you some other ground covers here shortly. But I love this. This is not flying right now, but it's skullcap, and there's purple skullcap and pink skullcap and heart-shaped skullcap. You can use all these as replacements for turf. So come over, go to the perennial area. Hey, let's go look at some ground covers over here. Well, we're here at the shade ground covers. I just showed you some of the sunny ones. Here are some of the shady ones. And that's particularly important when we have areas which we can't grow grass anymore. So we have these wonderful ground covers. We have an old-fashioned one called a juga. It's got a little pretty flower. We got another old-fashioned. We got some ivy. We got some Asiatic jasmine. We have a wonderful selection of monkey grass over here, and then some more Asiatic jasmine. But these are all great ground covers for those areas which you can't grow grass anymore. Oh, those wonderful trees, my favorite little trees. They've gotten so big and so shady, you can't grow grass anymore. So, hey, let's go and look at some shrubs. Well, here we are in the corner where I call the shrub corner, or the privacy plant corner. So I just want to give you a few of my favorites. Xylosma is a really good one for the sunny areas, a juniper. But if we have both sun or shade or partial shade, you can't go wrong with the hollies. And this happens to be a native holly. This is a selection of Yopon called Pride of Houston. And it's somewhat formal. It will stay somewhat compact. You don't need to do a lot of trimming. You can do a lot of trimming if you want to get it more of a shape. But hollies are great. So Yopon holly, there's a Nellie Foster's holly, Nellie Stevens, Foster's holly, both two different ones. So hollies are really, really great. Some other, we have clumping bamboo. I'm not a big bamboo fan, but if you're going to use bamboo, make sure it's the clumping bamboo. And then I always tell people, don't forget your vines. Nothing says a nice privacy hedge or barrier than a vine that can grow up. Your evergreen ones are your cross vine, your butterfly vine, your Confederate jasmine. These are all evergreens. This one right here is our famous Queen's Crown, the one that seems to grow overnight into a wild hedge. It is a favorite for butterflies and bees. It's not evergreen. It will go back down, go dormant during the winter, but it just grows so profusely in the summer you think that it would never stop growing. And it's not entirely deer resistant, but the plant doesn't care. So Yopons, hollies, different types of shrubs with the bamboo, clumping bamboo, and vines. Don't forget about your vines. Again, Queen's Crown, cross vine, butterfly vine, and Confederate jasmine. Those are great privacy plants for your home. One last thought about privacy hedges. I have these wonderful Arizona cypress behind me. They come in a multitude of colors of silver, but they're very beautiful. You grow them in a location where it's very, very sunny. And I also want to remind everybody that fall is for planting, especially planting trees. And you know what? When you plant a tree in a very short period of time, you can get a tree that's as big as the one behind me. Well, here at the herb table, I want to point out a wide selection of herbs that we have. I got basils over here. I got several different basils. Bay laurel, you don't often see that. We have some more mints, some basils, some lavender, some additional mints, chocolate mint. Don't see that very often. But most importantly, what I find real important here at Shades of Green on their herbs is that everything is well marked to look at. We have one more place inside which I really, really like, and I want to get you informed of it. Let's go. Well, now that you have your plant, it's real important to get it in the ground. May I suggest getting the proper equipment? You can't go outside without a nice pair of gloves. You know what? I like these gloves because South Texas is a bit thorny, a bit prickly, and so these protect your arms a little bit. So I like these long gloves that we have here. Also, make sure you have the proper implements, like a combination. This is wonderful for getting the bed prepared because it has a little hole and a scraper. It's very nice. You can just go around and get the bed prepared. But I think a product that's gaining a lot in popularity is what's called a soil knife. And this is a product, I'll just open it up here, is it works any way you want it. You can dig up plants, you can dig up a little soil, and it has a wonderful little gauge. So you know exactly how deep to plant everything. So I think these soil knives are becoming very popular, and if you don't have one now, go ahead and get one. But you make the hole, you have all this hole, you're going to put all the soil back in the hole. You may have to add a few other products. So let's go over and look at those. So to help you get your plants firmly established, I like to suggest a few items. A organic fertilizer. And how do you know it's organic? Well, you look on these numbers on the bottom. These numbers will always be single digits. You can read the label, but that's a quick and easy way to find out. The same thing with the Shades of Green product. It has single digits. So it's easy to know that these are slow-release organic fertilizers. Why is that important? Because that's what Mother Nature does. It has a slow-release organic product called leaves and grass. So you want to mimic that. And why we want to add some fertilizer is because lots of times urban fertilizers are deficient in certain minerals, and so it's always good to add those minerals to your plant to get it firmly established. So to finish off planting your plant, to make it established and helping to become firmly established, you need a little organic matter, a little compost. Now, compost should be fine, granular, and aromatic. Now you can put this into the soil and on top of the lawn, but primarily into your soil. Now the difference between compost and mulch is undecomposed chunk material. Now it can be chips or shredded cypress or a product like this one, which is a little bit decomposed. But the point with mulch is you never incorporate it into the soil. It's always on top. If you incorporate it into the soil, you sometimes get a nitrogen deficiency. So you never want that. So mulch goes on top, compost can go into the soil, and that's the difference. Thanks for watching the Go Gardening Show. And we'd like to thank Shades of Green for allowing us to video here. Remember everyone, get out there and garden and save some water. And also, fall is for planting. Thank you.
So, how does enjoying the many beautiful parks and natural areas located in the Trinity Glen Rose Groundwater Conservation District help protect the clean water stored in the Trinity Aquifer? You can learn more at trinityglenrose.com/pollution prevention.
Litter goes with the flow. Join the San Antonio River Authority in protecting area creeks and the river. Don't let litter trash your river. Let's all be river proud.